Hey YouTube, today we're going to be looking at a pair of 44 Magnums and we're going to do a comparison on them. And a lot of people are going to think one of them isn't in the league of the other, and a lot of people are going to lean towards one brand and other people are going to lean towards the other, but we're going to see how they stack up next to each other. So what we have here in front of us, we have a Korth Mongoose 44 Magnum, and we have a new release, new model 4.25 inch Colt Anaconda, also chambered in 44 Magnum. And before we go any further, I'm going to show you these revolvers do not have anything in them, and we are clear to make this video. So what we'll start off with here, we're going to start off with this Colt Anaconda. This is the 4.25 inch. This is the newer model Colt Anaconda. This is not one of the ones from the 90s. This is the newer one. And these revolvers, I have nothing but good things to say about them. I'll show you some of the close-ups on them. It just says all the Colt markings right over here. That's the serial number and this little QR code on this side. And on this side, it says Colt Anaconda 44 Magnum, and it has a little rampant horse on it. Now, these things come from the factory with rubber grips on them, and I elected to put these were supposed to be silver black Altamont laminate grips on them, but they came in as just black, and they are super comfortable, and I actually think they look pretty cool on this gun. So very happy with them, and I'm not going to send them back or anything like that. So with the Colt Anaconda, you get the top of the receiver here, or the frame, is drilled and tapped in case you wanted to put an optic on it. The sight is an easily removed front sight that just has a little Allen key up front, and it's got a red ramp in it. And the back sight is a just self-adjusting, or not self-adjusting, it's adjustable for windage and elevation target sight. Now, I am going to change this rear sight on this. I always put the Wilson Combat sights on these things because I don't think a lot of the factory Colt one. This one seems to be the best one I've ever seen, but I'm still going to change it. Now, some of the features of this Colt Anaconda that I think these came out a couple of years ago is these do have a recessed crown barrel in them. And this is a one-piece barrel. This is not a sleeve barrel, but it is recessed and crowned. Now, this is a 6-shot 44 Magnum, and this thing is smooth, folks. It is absolutely smooth. The action on this thing is just unbelievable. When Colt released these new revolvers, they really hit a home run on these, and this is the one that I've been waiting on, was the Anaconda chambered in 44 Magnum. And I have another one. I have a 6-inch one because the 4 1/4 one was not available at the time. They hadn't released it yet, so I bought a 6-inch one, and then when this one came out, I just knew I had to have it. But this is actually an exploded Python action. The new Pythons came out in 2020. This is a larger version of the Colt Python. So the complaint about the original Anacondas was they were just not good. I have a video comparing the new Anaconda to the old one, and it was not a good weapon, folks. It was made during a strike time, and when they were in some hardship. It was just a poor example of a weapon. This one is awesome because people always complained that they never made the Colt Python in 44 Magnum, and now they do, and this is it. The new Anacondas aren't exploded Colt Python. So I'll show you the single action on this thing. This is a bone stock, nothing done to it, and it pulls probably about 3.5 pounds. The single action on this thing is where all the money is, folks. It is just smooth all the way through. There's no creeping, there's no stacking or anything like that. Just an absolutely awesome weapon. It's very well finished off, and these things were not hand fitted like the vintage old Colt Pythons. These are all made on CNC machines, and it turned out this beautiful weapon here. But this is a massive gun. I mean, this thing is absolutely huge. The frame, the cylinder, and all that. And we're going to show you that here when we compare it to this next one. So the next one we're going to show you is a Korth Mongoose 44 Magnum. These are distributed by Nighthawk Customs out of Berryville, Arkansas, who's known for making some of the best 1911s in the world. And they partnered with Korth, which is a German a German gun making company that's been around since the 1950s. It was started by a gentleman named Willie Korth, and his goal was to make the finest revolver ever made. And he, up until the 1970s, he started producing what he calls the combat magnum, or the combat one. And a lot of people think it resembles a Colt Python because it has a ventilated rib on top and a full underlug, and it really does if you get the 357 Magnum one. And I do have videos out with the 357 Magnum one, but it's really not, folks. It has a two-piece barrel on it, so the barrel in the middle is actually all machined out, and then it has this outer sleeve here that incorporates this vented rib and the full underlug. Now, the way the Korth works is completely different than the way the Colt works. The Colt only locks up in one place. The Korth does it in two. So if you look right up here, it has a little locking mechanism here. And when you open this up, if you look in the back here, in the back, right along here where my finger is, the other part inserts into that. So this is spring loaded right here, this ejector rod. And when you push this thing closed, this piece here pushes on this spring and locks it right here into that hole. And then when you want to release the cylinder, you push on this and it releases it. So one of the odd things about a Korth revolver is, what is this little button here? Well, that's actually the cylinder release on it. And Smith & Wesson people will love this because they always complain about the Colts that you have to pull on the cylinder release to open the cylinder. And they think it's counterintuitive. I do not, because I have a lot more experience shooting Colt revolvers than I do Smith & Wesson revolvers. But if there was ever one that was intuitive, it would be this one. I mean, as soon as you're done with the cylinder, you just push up on that. I mean, it's right there where your hand would be for the hammer. Eject your shells out, put it back in, and go to town. Now, with the Korth revolvers, one of my only complaints about these things is the size of this hammer. I think it lacks a little bit in size, especially if you were using this for target shooting and you want to shoot double action. I mean, I have pretty big hands, and it's a far stretch for me to get up there and grab this hammer, but it is doable. It's got a real smooth double action, and it's got a real smooth action, and I think the trigger is just a little bit lighter than the Colt Anaconda. These things are manufactured to perfection. They are hand fit together by the top gunsmiths in the world, the top revolver builders in the world, and you see no mistakes anywhere on these things. This is like buying a top-end Rolex or Patek Philippe watch or something like that. If you see a mistake, it's not acceptable to them. But I'll show you the other side. It's got the Nighthawk custom markings on it. It says 44 Remington Magnum, and it has the Nighthawk symbol over here because Nighthawk is the one that distributes them in the United States. On these awesome grips here, these are smooth wood, but man, are they comfortable in your hand. You have the Korth insignia right here, and it says Korth right there. So very top notch. This is probably the top of the line when it comes to a 44 Magnum revolver. But we're going to compare that side by side to this Colt Anaconda. Now, the Korth is a lot less beefier, but the metal that they make this out of is hand selected, and I think they do something besides forging, and I'm not going to pretend that I know what it is, but it's some kind of stuff that strengthens the metal on it. But if you look at this thing next to the Colt, it is a lot smaller, folks. I mean, it is not even close. I'm going to open this Colt up. If you look at the thickness of this top strap here, as compared to the thickness on the Korth, it's not even close. Now, where the real big difference is the size of these cylinders. And I'm going to try and show you side by side. The Korth cylinder is extremely tiny next to the Colt one. And if you look at the amount of meat that's between the cylinders, the Colt definitely is a lot larger. If you look at the forcing cone here, I think the Korth's got it very nicely machined, and you can see the barrel sleeved into it, just very well machined off. And the forcing cone on the Colt, I mean, it's not bad either, but it's not to the level that Korth is. But in terms of operation, I would say the action is a little bit smoother when you pull the hammer back on the Colt, but I think the trigger is a little bit better on the Korth. So the Colt is smooth, it's just a little bit heavier, and it just operates a little bit different. Now on a Colt, as you can see, all Colts always rotate clockwise, and on the Korth it rotates counterclockwise, kind of like what Smith & Wesson people are used to. Now on this Korth, it has a little button here that you can push on it and pull the cylinder out. And I know on the 357 Magnum ones, you can get a 9mm cylinder to stick in here. I do not know if there's a different caliber that you can put in this or not, but it does have the same design where it's a quick release. You just push that button and it snaps back in. The Colt, of course, is not going to have that. It's going to be very well finished off on the trigger and on the hammer. You don't see any kind of tool marks or anything like that. The Colt is going to be pretty much the same way. It's pretty well finished off on that and the hammer on this. Both of them are internal frame-mounted firing pins. So the Smith & Wesson revolver people that like their old Smiths with the hammer-mounted firing pins, you're not going to get that here. The Colts, they finish all the corners off really well. I think that's probably a little bit better than the Korth. Not that the Korth's bad, it's not got any burrs on it, but I like that little rounded edge they have on there. But this thing is pretty awesome, these Korth revolvers, but you do pay for them, folks. When you buy one, they are not cheap. You can probably buy 3 of these for what you can buy one of those Korth 44 Magnums for. So you got to ask yourself, is it worth it to you? Now, if you're buying it to think you're going to improve your groups at the range, you're probably not, folks, because a handgun is only as good as the person using it, and you can take probably the worst handgun and somebody can really shoot and they can really do incredible things with them. So, but if you want to buy one of these just for like pride of ownership and say you have the best, it wouldn't be a bad investment. And you know what I say about investment? Firearms aren't investment, but if you're investing in yourself, it can be. So it is quite a bit, just quite a bit lighter than the Colt because of the bulky frame that this Colt has. This Colt is a lot heavier. So the Colt's going to absorb some of the 44 Magnum recoil a lot better than the Korth will. But anyway, folks, it's up to you whichever route you decide to go. I just wanted to show you, these are both pretty modern revolvers. They're both more what people consider high-end revolvers. It's just this one is super high-end, and this one's pretty high-end for the United States made crowd that likes United States made revolvers. Anyway, folks, tell me which one you like better and which one you would prefer and what are some advantages and disadvantages in your opinion. Thank you very much for watching my video today, and you folks have a great day.